What up, guys? So let's go ahead and get started. This is a build video of my new Impulse RC Alien Mr. Steele version, which is essentially chamfered arms. Comes with black hardware and has this foam mount that I use typically to mount my GoPro. And the real part that makes it the Mr. Steele version is this PDB that I've been working on with Impulse for the last like 6 or 7 months. Essentially, it will take a KISS FC. You plug in 2 plugs into this PDB, and you get all the telemetry through the KISS from KISS, like as far as from the ESCs. All of your telemetry will come through on an OSD in the actual camera. So you're gonna get OSD with very basic stuff, but you can have a lot more if you want. You can change PIDs, you can change filters, you can change pretty much everything, video transmitter channels and all that via this PDB. It has a microphone built in. It has cascading regulators, so that is a switching regulator down to a linear regulator, so you have really clean video. So you have plugs or solder joints for your video transmitter and your video camera. So your camera comes in, solders there, your video transmitter solders there. You have your ESCs, and you have 3 telemetry wires, or signal, ground, and telemetry. And then 2 plugs that plug into the KISS FC. There's no soldering on the KISS FC except for the soldering from the receiver. So there's literally 3 solder joints on the KISS FC. And yeah, it's sick. I've been using it for, like I said, I've been using it for about 2.5, 3 months now, and it's solid. Love it. It got rid of the PMP50, so for those of you guys that are still running the PMP50, this is a cool upgrade if you're running an Alien. If you're not, then yeah, this is designed for the Alien only. So unless your frame is exactly like the Alien, this PDB is not going to fit. So if you have an Alien, it's a cool upgrade. If you don't, I'm sorry, but this is a Mr. Steele Alien with PDB build video. So yeah, let's get started. I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible. We're going to see. This is actually cut down a lot on build time, so we will see exactly how short it is. So let's cut open this Alien kit and see what you get with it. Pretty sure nothing crazy different. You got foam, you got some files, you got all your hardware, you got a little strap thing, or sorry, a battery pad, you got a strap, which is the first Impulse RC frame to come with a strap. So you have the K brackets, you have the top plate, which is redesigned with a little cutout in the back, and then obviously the cutout in the front. This is for the antenna, how I mount my antennas. And yeah, we have a top plate as well, or sorry, a bottom plate, and this is a 2mm bottom plate, and all of this stuff is chamfered. So if you don't know what chamfering is, it's essentially just filing down the corners so that it's a little bit nicer to deal with, and you don't have to do it manually. And then this is the new foam piece that everybody asks me about. So this is actually made and comes with the kit, and they will be sold separately, but it's a foam piece with adhesive on the bottom that you stick, and you can put Velcro on the top there and mount your GoPro. So let's open up this PDB real quick and see exactly what comes with it. The PDB, which that is it, by the way. Then on the back there is a mustache. You have this little piece of plastic that goes in between the PDB and the frame to prevent any short circuiting. As far as the carbon fiber is concerned, you have a microphone, you have, like I said, your 3 telemetry wires and your positive and negative for the ESCs. You have 5 volts of ground, you have a microphone, you have video camera, solder joints and video transmitter solder joints, and you can run smart audio and change your VTX through the OSD if you would like. So this PDB is coming with these 2 little cables that plug directly into the KISS FC. So those 2 little cables, it comes with all the hardware that you would need. These 2 little plugs plug into the PDB and you're good to go. Oh, and this foam piece goes in front of the microphone to cut down on wind noise. So that's what this foam piece is for. And yeah, it's very easy, very simple way to cut down on wind noise. So when you mount this to the frame, you're gonna put this little foam piece right in front of it. I'll show you when I do the build. So here's all the parts for the frame. Let's get all those together. So as far as what I use nowadays, as far as parts go, I'm still using a TBS Triumph for my antenna. I'm still using a Unify Pro. I have a Rotorite run cam with the 2.5 millimeter GoPro lens, which comes with it stock in the Rotorite run cam. I have the Mr. Steele Silk motors, which are here. I have a KISS FC, KISS 24 amps, and a receiver, which is an X4R S bus, and that is it. Yeah, sorry, I need to tin this PDB first. Okay, so I'm gonna tin this PDB real quick, like. I run the iron pretty hot. I'm running it like 800 right now, or 900 actually. So it's an in and out thing. It's not these. Don't hold the soldering iron on there too long. You just bop, bop, bop. I like how they're already tinned on this little thing here. Okay, so we want 5 volts for the transfer. And it is 5 volt rail there if you want it, or for some reason I'm just want to you can't. So you want to run your race board, but yeah, sorry, you can't because it's PDB. Can't work like that. Alright, so I'm just gonna kind of stick that in there. Make sure you got the polarity correct. Slow, right? Get in. Yeah. Cool. We are good to go. You can clean this stuff up with alcohol if you want. Again, this is rubbing alcohol. Okay, that's pretty clean. So, PDB tinned, ready to go. So, let's put this on. Okay, you want to use the short screws for the arms on the 2 inner ones and the 2 outer ones, because the longer 4 screws go into the standoffs. So this is really cool because these are actually steel. So I have sheared not arms, but I have sheared bolts off before, and usually it's the 2 on the outside of the arms. Cool. Little tip when you're soldering these wires, the telemetry wires, I cut little strips that can be too long, and you solder one side. So you tin one side, you stick it on there, and then once you get it all tinned and on there, you can level all three of them out, make them all the same length, and once you do that, it makes life easy. Makes life easier when you're soldering to the PDB, because these things can get kind of crunchy and bunchy on there. So alright, so we've got all the ESCs and motors prepped. Time to heat shrink. I usually use a 1/2 inch clear heat shrink, and I will take a pair of needle nose pliers because I like the heat shrink to be really tight, and I will stretch it out so that it fits over the ESCs a little easier. And then when you heat gun it, it gets really tight. And I do need to jumper two of these ESCs. So that jumper makes two of the ESCs spin the opposite direction. Another tip when you're soldering the ESCs to the thing, solder the telemetry wires first. Figures, the one that I filmed myself doing takes forever, and the other ones were just like BAM! Good to go. Now we're just gonna put some double-sided sticky tape under here, and yeah, like this. Basically, I always do this to kind of protect the ESCs. It's not necessary, but it helps. Again, you want this to be kind of a little loose, so you don't get a lot of strain on those joints. Okay, so before we go any farther, this is what we're at right now. This is with the motors and ESCs already fully soldered onto the PDB in the frame. Again, I haven't done this in a while. We're in about an hour and a half total build time to here. I'm sure people can do it faster, but yeah, you know. Alright, so this is cool. In the festive situation that we're about to have, I was sent this Hello Kitty arm sticky thing. I don't typically do this, but I'm gonna do it on this one. Stick it on there. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Dude, I love this. Dude, this thing looks sick. Look at that. Pumped on the kitty. Alright. let's do some more stuff. Okay, so while we're here, we're gonna go ahead and solder on the VTX and the camera wires. So here's the camera wire. I'm just gonna pull out a little length. All it has to do is reach the camera from here, so that's about what we're gonna use. Chop that, we have that. And then as far as the VTX, running a Unify Pro. This is the 5-volt version. I don't know, I just always used a 5-volt version, so yeah. There it is, right there. So with my Unify thing and all of my wires, I like to twist them. An easy way to do that is heat it up with a heat gun and twist it. I'll do that now. Okay, so I'm gonna strip these and we're gonna solder them on. Alright, so we have everything soldered, tinned and whatnot, so let's go ahead, and this probably would have been easier if I had waited and not put the standoffs in, but you know, people get impatient, whatever. I put all this stuff in, so let's see if we can squeeze in there and get that. Okay, so one little thing that I mentioned earlier, the PDB came with a little foam piece. So this is the foam piece. You peel this off, peel these guys back, and you're gonna stick the foam piece flush up against the mic and you just kind of smash it on there, and that's gonna reduce some of your wind noise, or all of it, honestly. So yeah, there you go. Next, I'm going to just plug these in here, and I'm gonna get the camera ready. Okay, so for the camera you need this back plate, which is the back plate without the without anything on it. Yeah. Okay, we need our back plate for the camera. So this back plate is modified for the Swift. So it's got little cutouts. You use the stock screws. I know that it comes with extra screws and little rubber grommet things, but with the Swift, I haven't used it. I don't think you need it. And we're going to put this on facing the back. You have 2 K-brackets that mount on the sides of the camera. I'm going to run 25 degrees. I'm pretty sure that's 25 degrees. I'm going to tighten that up, and we have one more K-bracket hiding around here somewhere. Oh, it's right in front of my face. So these are 5-degree increments, so you can go 0 all the way up to, like, I think 45. I don't even know. And one thing that a lot of people do these days, which I've never really done, but I'm going to do on this build, is they put in these little side screws for the camera. So put that little nugget in there. Camera's solid as a rock. So, and then this just kind of mounts in here like this. Remember, if you have your standoffs done correctly, it should just slip in there. And this is why I love the Alien, because everything just freaking fits. And when it, well, I mean, it takes a little coercion, but it just freaking just clicks in there, and now it's solid. And that is the most solid camera mount ever. Alright, so we're almost done. Let's, oh man, I should have plugged this in. What a dummy. What, is this my first quad build or what? Cool. So let's mount the KISS FC. One thing that we do need to do is I need to open it, and there is one soldering situation that needs to happen, and that is the the soldering of the receiver. So, and that's over here by the KISS logo. The 3 closest to the KISS. This is difficult to do so that you guys can see it. Okay, so that's the only soldering to the FC that you'll have to do. There's a couple things that I like to do. I like to file out the holes on the KISS FC so that they're a little less tight on here. And what you can do is you just take this file, and I'll show you how I do it. File it out, and then I also run some tubing under there as like a soft mount. So as far as filing out these holes, I literally take this circular cylindrical file that you get, and I'm just gonna hold the FC down and kind of waller out these holes. I just like to do it because it makes life a little easier when you're taking things off. Alright, so as you can see, the holes are pretty big now. And I'm just going to go ahead and plug this back in. And yeah, it's a lot looser on there. And I will actually grab, I have some little rubber nuggets right here. So I'm going to put some rubber or some tubing down. Alright, so a couple little tips and tricks. I like to cut props and put them over the ESCs, so I will just cut a little bit of prop like this. I like to round it off a little sometimes. And basically all this is doing is just going to go over the ESCs, because polycarbonate props are notorious for not breaking and then killing your ESCs. So this is what I would do. I would literally just put a piece of prop on there. I would line it up like that, being sure to leave the LED exposed. And yeah, just wrap. And then take a little blade, cut that off, and there you go. Perfect ESC protector. Alright, so we've done all that. I usually will kind of favor the leading side so that if it hits, so like obviously it's not big enough to cover the whole ESC in this instance, so I just put it more towards the side where the prop is coming in. We have that. Now let's mount the receiver. Now this is kind of a cool thing that I do that I can show you how to do. Basically, I run these antenna tubes that come with the Alien, and I will cut a hole in them right here. So let me do one real quick. I think I need a sharp X-Acto blade. So I will kind of just push the blade into it. And what I'm doing is I'm carving out a little tiny hole so that I can slip the antenna wire into it without it being at the end of the plastic, because what you don't want is you don't want to hit something and then it pinch the antenna wire. So I carve out a little hole in this antenna tube, which is really durable. I used to use zip ties, but since I started using this antenna tube, I rarely had problems with cutting antennas, and then I had a couple instances where I actually cut a few antennas, and then I started using this stuff, and since then I haven't had any issues. So what I'll do is I will slip the antenna up through this crack, and then I will use heat shrink that goes over the antenna tube and the rear standoff, and it kind of slips down like so. I might have to stretch this heat shrink out a little bit. And once it's on there like that, I will heat shrink, and then I'll heat it, and bend that down like that, and you kind of get something that looks like this. That way you can have an antenna at a 45-degree angle out up here and a 45-degree angle out on the bottom, and that's how I run my antennas. So yeah, I've already done that on this. So this is an old receiver just because I don't have any new receivers lying around. So I'm going to plug this old receiver in, and I usually put a piece of foam under the receiver as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of cushion. And then, like, I don't do anything special. I just take some tape and I try to like make sure that the light is out. The hey, I'm transmitting light. But other than that, nothing too gnarly. Okay, so we strap the receiver down. And then, like I said, we'll get some heat shrink, and I like to cut it a little short. We'll take some needle nose pliers, we'll stretch it out, run it over the top of this antenna tube right here that I have a hole cut out of, and we'll run it on the outside like that, and we'll do one more. And this is like one of the coolest things that I've come up with in a while. And all of this is like spawned from all kinds of nonsense back in the day with the zip ties, and like, yeah, it just spawned into whatever has happened nowadays. And I try to push the antennas as far in as possible so that they are as long as possible, so you can get them away from their transmitting antenna, because that's how a lot of fail-safes happen in other, say, Spectrum or even in FR Sky. It's more susceptible to a problem if you're running the transmitting antenna right next to the receiving antennas. This is what we ended up with. I used some zip ties around the base once I put these antenna tubes down, and they are super solid. They're not going anywhere. Again, antenna tube with a hole cut in it like this. Hole cut in the front there. I run my antennas through that hole, and then I would heat up the antenna tube and bend it slightly so that it's at a 45-degree angle, and then I will run heat shrink over the standoff and the antenna tube, and I heat shrink that down. And then the last thing that I do to reinforce it is I put a zip tie at the base right where the bend is, so that it's not going anywhere. So we're done pretty much with the quad now. All we got to do is the last thing, which is mount the VTX to the top plate, put the foam pieces on the bottom of the arms, and just kind of finishing up stuff. So let's do that. Alright, so this is going to be the infamous Mr. Steele top plate that everybody asks questions about. I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. It's not really that complex, but I don't know, I get a lot of questions about it, how my top plate's set up, and how my VTX is mounted, and how my foam wedge is mounted, and all that stuff. So let's do it. First off, VTX. I don't like this floppiness, okay? I don't like that. So what I do is I take a hot glue gun and I pump some hot glue into this thing right here. And this is not low temp hot glue, by the way. This is normal temp hot glue, and it probably is going to melt anyways because I use low temp hot glue. And then I kind of run this over to the side, alright? And the reason I do that is so that this little cable is no longer using that UFL connector as its main source of its main source of grabbage. This thing is now a lot better off than it was, as far as I don't know, I just don't like that stuff. Now occasionally I'll do this to reinforce my ideals a little bit. I'll take a little piece of electrical tape. This is actually like way bigger than I typically use, and I will run a little piece around it as well. We're gonna run around like that. Okay, so that's how my VTX, and then I bend the wire back a little bit so that it chills like that. Okay, that is how the VTX looks. Next, we're gonna mount this VTX and the antenna. So we need the antenna. Here we go. The Triumph. So this is an RPSMA Triumph. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure you have the pin and no pin. That sucks when you put on a pin. And you have two females and they just scissor and it doesn't get anything done. Okay, so now this is the general idea of what I want to do when I'm done with my top plate. I want this to be here, and I want this to be here, and I want it to be free floating. I want to put a mounting point here, and I want to mount as many times as I can around the antenna base. Alright, so I have a wrap strap through the back plate, or the top plate like this. Coming through these two holes right here and across this cross member right here. And the goal of this is to run this antenna through all that, like so. We'll run these needle nose pliers up through here. We'll grab this wrap strap and we will pull it through. And then I also like to run a zip tie around the antenna as well, so if you have some kind of snappage, it'll flex. That's what's cool about the wrap strap, is it flexes, and the zip ties will break. So if you use straight up zip ties, you're more than likely gonna break the zip ties, and that's never fun. So anyways, we have that coming out of there like that, and this is mounted on the antenna only so it can flex. And then I have one little last trick that I do right here. I will run a piece of double-sided sticky tape, cut a little piece off here, and I will run it right like that. And then we will run a little wrap strap around the outside of that so that it holds down the VTX by the little SMA wire like that. Okay, so now the VTX just kind of literally is free dangling up in there, but it kind of wedges between the standoffs, and if I need to pull it out and change channels, I can. And that's how I mount my VTX. So we have a little rubber piece that comes with the build, and I am going to cut off the front part of that rubber piece. Probably a lot easier to cut with scissors, but I don't have any scissors. And we will stick this down. Now we have the GoPro foam. Alright, so typically I like to heat this up before I apply it. So I will heat up the foam, and I will heat up the top plate all at the same time. Heat up the foam, heat up the top plate, all kinds of action, just so that it stays on there. Alright, and then for maximum adhesion, you want to go as far forward as you can. And stick that nugget on there. You're gonna get some overlay on, like, right above the GoPro, which is perfectly fine. Okay, so and then there's one last little trick, and that is I do this. I put Velcro on the top of the foam, and I do the same thing again. I heat up the Velcro and the foam all at the same time, and this is just to help it adhere a little bit better. Okay, so once I've done that, Stick the Velcro on to the foam, push down, get your fierce press on, and then you have yourself a Mr. Steele foam GoPro mount top plate completion situation. So there is the finished top plate with mounting of the antenna, strap, mounting of the VTX, and foam GoPro mount. So let's button up the quad and yeah, plug it in. So here's the quad with the top plate. Plug in the VTX. Kind of tuck the wires a little bit. Get that going there, and let's get all these screwed down. Okay, we gotta run the straps. So the Gowie strap comes in from the left side of the quad, goes through the K plates, over the top, bam. And then I have a bunch of these Pyro drone straps that I use for the batteries, because Surge sent me like 100,000 of them. So thanks, Surge. And I run one over the VTX like this, between the VTX and the bottom, and then I run one the opposite direction over the SMA adapter in the back, between the standoff and where I zip tied down. And sometimes it's easier to do this one before you put the top plate on, but it can be done. So yeah, there is a Mr. Steele Alien now. Yeah, just so you guys can see the magic smoke test. It don't work at all because this battery's dead. I think I have a good battery lying around. There we go. Woo! Okay, one thing that I forgot to mention is the extra foam that you use as feet on the bottom of the quad. So you have the quad here, you have the foam, you cut it into strips that are fairly short, and I just run little feet like that, push it on there. This foam's really good. You will not have any problems with it ripping or tearing like other foams. From my experience anyways, I don't have any issues with it ripping or tearing, but I've had problems with other foams in the past. And one little thing that I would like to add is this build was extremely easy. I haven't built a full quad in a long time like this, like from scratch or whatever, and I did it in 3 hours from start to finish. And again, I don't do this, I build quads, but not hardly at all anymore. Like, they just kind of work. I fix them occasionally, and yeah, this is a really quick build. So if you're looking for something quick and yeah, literally out of the box, from all the pieces and parts to fully built in my hand in less than, I'd say just under 3 hours. And here are the little feet, so when you set it down, it's a little raised and you can land on stuff and not scratch your bolts or your skin on the bottom. So anyways, super excited. This is like, I'm actually really excited about this. I hope you guys enjoy. Bye.
fall through the through the